Masters, this is Maker Master Tony, and we have a project for today. New year, new project, new channel. So now I'm gonna show you how I am going to build a Baby Yoda, Grogu, or the child from the Mandalorian. Well, first of all, let me show you that I'm gonna use several tools. I'm not sure which ones, depends on how the project is gonna go. I am also gonna use those crystal resin balls that I showed you at the beginning as the eyes, and I'm gonna use the same mold for the eyes later on, so don't worry about that. I have this prop that I made earlier, for another project. This is an alien creature. It's just for reference, to have a 3D reference for the shapes, for the textures, stuff like that. So don't worry, that's not the Baby Yoda that you were gonna do. And to be faithful to the source, I also have references in my phone. This is important if you want to have something that is pretty close to the original, to the one that you wanna emulate, right? So let's start. So as I said, I'm gonna use these balls. These are crystal resin, right? Crystal resin, and I'm gonna use the same mold later on to do the actual eyes. These are not the eyes that we're gonna use, but these are gonna be pretty close in size and shape and everything, since we're gonna use the exact same mold, right? Right now, what we're doing, or what I'm doing, is just adding volume, right? Just volume all over the figure. Later on, I'm gonna start to remove it. So don't worry if at first doesn't look quite as good, because you're just adding volume, and the textures and the actual shapes we're gonna do later. So don't worry about just the volume that I'm adding here. Okay, so as you can see, I'm adding the mouth and let's say the lips, the nose. As you can see, for example, the nose is quite large for this character. The nose is one of the most important things of these characters, I think. So he looks cute at the at the moment. Right now he looks like E.T. or something like that. But we're gonna scrape off some of these shapes later on with our tools, so he is gonna start looking more and more like Baby Yoda, right? Like the child, or like Grogu, as you like to call it right now. For this character, I think it's important, like he has these cheeks, like baby cheeks, and sometimes I see that when someone is building a puppet like this or emulating this character, they they exaggerate with the proportions of the cheeks, and he ends up looking like a bulldog or something like that. So you want him to be realistic, you want to have the shapes, but also you want him to look cute. So don't exaggerate with the detail, because later on he would look like like one of his species, but maybe too old. I saw a Baby Yoda that was great, looked amazing, but he looked more like the actual Yoda, right? Like a grown-up alien of this species. So we want him to look like a baby. Also, I forgot to tell you, you need several references depending on how you want it. For example, I want him, as you can see, let me just tell you here, I'm using actually old sculpture plasticine, okay? Because this kind of clay you can use several times. So I'm using some that I already used in a project for a dinosaur. This is great, this kind of plasticine, or this kind of clay, because you can use it all over and over and over, and it's also sensitive to the heat. So first I heated mine on the microwave, so it would be easier to use. Okay, the Tyrannosaur that you just saw, the dinosaur, was not preheated, so it's a little harder to work with this right now. But if you use this kind of clay, you can use it several times. Okay, the brand that I use is Sculpture. Okay, Sculpture Plasticine, which is easier for me to get. But you could use Monster Clay, which is the same kind of clay, and you will have the same benefits, let's say. Okay, so as you can see, right now it's just volume, volume, volume all over, and just getting the basic shapes. And coming back to the references, I was saying that you need several references depending on how you want the shape. For example, here I already put the ears, I already scrapped a lot of material and make it a little finer. As you can see, the nose and the details on the head and all that. Don't worry that I cut that off. Well, I did, because if I left all that, this video would be super long. But now you're gonna see what I was doing. That is actually this. I started taking off the excess, and then if you need, you put a little more clay, like happened to me here. I went too far, so the eyes were visible, a part of the ball of here. So I just go as far as I have to go, and then I just lay more clay and try to make it, you know, like at the same level, right, as the one that I already had, to smooth it on. By the way, to smooth the clay, I recommend you to use water. I have a little bit of water here in this red container, and in this way you can smooth the clay and smooth the surface without damaging your clay, because a lot of people that I had seen use alcohol, okay, rubbing alcohol, which may be easier. You may think that you are doing a better job, you know, like smoothing the clay off, and maybe you are, and maybe, you know, you have a little bit of advantage there, but I don't think is worthy, because you are damaging the clay, and in a medium to long term you're not gonna be using, or you are not gonna be able to use the clay anymore, which is one of the great advantages of this clay, because you are damaging the oils in it, right? So I would recommend you to use the clay and to put a lot of attention to detail and to your references, right? What I'm doing right now is I'm laying over more material in the shape of these, like, worms of clay, I like to call them. Okay, so I put them on the top of the eyes, on the bottom, and then I scrap them, trying to get into the level of the sculpture. Okay, so they don't look like just clay over, you know, the original one, but as part of the same, right? In this case, as part of the eyebrows and as part of the eyelids. As I said, you can see that I opened the mouth of the character, because later on I want to do a puppet with it, so I want him to be able to move the mouth maybe, but also this character looks cuter in a lot of of his scenes when he's like with this sad face with a closed mouth. So I'm trying to go for an expression that works both ways, but we're gonna see how that works. Right now I'm scraping off some of the shapes to do wrinkles, okay, to do wrinkles and to do a little bit of creases on the face, which I have to smooth with water later on. Okay, now I'm adding a little bit of volume, you know, on the base to make him look a little fatter, a little chubbier, and a little more like a baby. Okay, right now I'm smoothing it, as I said, so the cheeks look a little bit better, a little bit more baby-like. Then I will use a piece of plastic, okay, to put some texture in it. So we're gonna do that later on, but now I want you to see that I'm smoothing the thing out a little bit more. Alright, so like I said, we are gonna do like these worms of clay, and we're gonna put them to do in this case these are for wrinkles, but you can use them in other characters for veins. They look awesome. In this case, like you see, I'm doing the wrinkles at the side of his face, so they look a little bit more natural. So then I smooth them on. Alright, so they look like actual wrinkles from the skin and not just like worms or something over. So he starts looking more and more like Baby Yoda, right? So take your time. This is for texture, because if you put a very hard texture on this, he's not gonna look cute anymore. But you do want some texture, so I'm using this trick of running an orange over to have a little bit of skin texture. I heard of this trick in an interview of Stan Winston, and I thought it was genius. What I normally do is I have like dried out orange skin that I have, you know, laying around, but in this case I just took an orange like it come and I just did it. So now I'm gonna use this tool, which is like this kind of steel brush, and I run it, but I run it with the plastic, you know, the plastic piece over the piece, just to do it a little smoother and not to go just over the clay. If you do it over the clay, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna hurt it and scratch it, right? For deeper creases and for deeper detail, I will use a pointy tool like the one that I'm using now. Okay, so this way you can make like wrinkles, like textures, and some other things that you would want on the skin of your character. The orange again, I will just run it over a little, and then with water you will wash out a little bit of that texture so it doesn't look too hard. So this is going to be a project probably for another video, so we're not gonna finish this right now. This is gonna be a 2-part or 3-part video, so stay tuned, subscribe please. Alright, and see you later on.